Our poll question for Key Auto Group today is, are you concerned at all? You put any stock in spring training baseball results? That's where I want to open with our next guest, Sammy Cosentino, because he is, if I can be so bold, you're a baseball guy first, right, Sammy? Am I right in saying that?
Back in the days, that's for sure. I have been detached from it for quite some time from a broadcast perspective, but that's where I got my education on a baseball scholarship and spent 12 years with the Blue Jays in various capacities, and then in a broadcasting role for another, 6 or 7 years. So yeah, that's baseball is a long part of my history, Roddy.
Well, I would expect that you enjoy talking about it because sounds like it's in your DNA. You called some Expos games on the Score, did you not?
I did in 2004, and I think I saw recently that Netflix is putting something together for that final year. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out and see if anyone contacts me at all about it, because I don't know, I'd be interested to see what they got cooking over there.
I know. Well, we had Mike Wilner on last week, and we talked about that documentary and so forth. And listen, I'm not a stalker, Sam, but I have followed your career. So how would you answer the question? How do you put stock in preseason results? And not scores specifically, but Alek Manoah last night hitting 3 batters in his spring training debut. What should we be concerned?
Yeah, I think there should be some concern just based on he hasn't done it in such a long time. And the way the year ended last year left all kinds of question marks. He comes back, looks to be in better shape. He's talking a good game, and then goes out and has an outing like that. Of course, I'd be concerned. Like, the rhetoric is always going to be in spring training. It's early. Good thing we're doing it here instead of the real season. There's still plenty of time. I liked what I did. First outing, la, 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 la. But I guess that outing will only be as good or as bad as the next one. And we'll see what happens then.
Okay. Well, speaking of la, 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 corporate speak or team speak, I'd really like to know, our big topic is what Gary Bettman had to say in Winnipeg on Tuesday. We're all trying to decipher what he said versus what he meant. And what do you think?
Fascinating stuff for me. And so when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets situation, I was there early in the year, and that was a huge topic of conversation. They started winning. That talk went down a little bit. And then, you look at that Gary Bettman visiting there. That in itself is a news story, I think. The market has always been strong since its second incarnation, if you will. But yeah, I mean, when you look at a market that small, the issue you have is your margin for error is significantly smaller. And I heard you talking a little bit about Dallas earlier on. Well, the margin for error there is quite big. You can attract new people. You can do some dynamic things with your ticket prices. You have a big building. You have a team that's had success. Winnipeg doesn't have a big building. They don't have a big market. They have a much smaller margin for error there. Having said that, the number one marketing tool you have is winning, and the Winnipeg Jets are doing that right now, but people want to see that happening in the playoffs. So, I'm interested. I'm always fascinated by that market, because I know there were some people that I spoke to locally when I was out there earlier in the year that talked, that maybe there was a little bit of arrogance on the part of the Jets from their return right up until basically the last 2 years. And as a result of that, the service wasn't quite as good. They knew they were going to be sold out, every night, and it wasn't a concern. Well, those people that kind of got left behind in that vortex are now sort of having their say and saying, "Hey, listen, we didn't feel like we were serviced properly. We felt your ticket prices weren't, good for us. We felt that your dynamic ticket packaging didn't suit us." And now we're in a different time and a different place with the pandemic having passed, the depression in the market. Things have changed significantly. And so it's a smart enough business group that I think they're going to get it figured out, Roddy. But there is some cause for concern when the commissioner shows up.
Yeah, well, welcome to Canadian NHL teams. That's just the way. They don't expect that they got to do anything to fill their building. It's kind of what's going on here in Florida, too, because season ticket holders just got a letter that ticket prices from last year's Stanley Cup playoffs have doubled. And they're like, what? And it's like, if you don't want to pay it, somebody will be in your seat. Because I was there. There was 18,000 people in the 18.5 in the Stanley Cup Final paying $1,200 a ticket. It's now $2,400 a ticket. I'm like, who are these people that are paying this? But they are. Yeah, I don't get it either. But that's what happens when you win. You know, that's what happens when you win. Now, you're the
market bears it, Roddy.
Sorry,
so,
go ahead. You have
I mean, the market bears it. So,
people.
And you know what? And there's going to be a lot of people thinking that if Florida has to go into a downturn here, and they're looking for people to fill their seats in the next, 3-4 years, those are the people that you've that you've hit hard, and those are the people that likely won't respond.
Yeah, well, I also think they'll just drop the ticket prices. That's what I do think will happen, but we'll see. By the way, I'm very much enjoying keeping an eye on Florida for you, Sammy, when you come back. Just so you know, it's in good hands. Now, everybody's talking about the top end of the standings, but I want to ask you about the bottom end of the standings because you're the prospect guy. My bottom 5 teams in the NHL right now, not by standings necessarily, but are San Jose, Arizona, Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus. How deep is that draft? How low do you want to finish? Can you get a franchise-saving player in the top 5, even top 3?
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 you can for sure. And then it varies after that because there's a large number of defensemen, Roddy, and there's a large number of defensemen that are completely different. I mean, Anton Saliv is a 6'7" guy. Is he the next Nikita Zadorov? Who, if you're saying you're picking second overall, is that something you want? Having said that, you look at the defense cores of the last 3 or 4 Stanley Cup winning teams. They have players like Anton Saliv who've been really successful, who are big, durable, have a physical edge, skate well, move pucks. He can do that kind of stuff. Then you move into a Demidov, who is a player kind of like Celebrini, but playing in Russia, but he's playing only against MHL competition there. So it's really hard to gauge what he is. In a vacuum, he looks similar to Celebrini in that he's a play driver. He's a high-end competitor. He plays in 3 zones. But do you want to take that risk with a player from Russia for those 2 players that I've talked about? Then we start to move into a more broad range of defensemen. Artem Levshunov. I went to see him at Michigan a couple of weeks ago, playing for Michigan State. He's an all-around guy with some size, with some bite, with some puck moving, good shooting ability. And then you move into the Zane Pareks, the Carter Yakubchuks. Yakubchuk's a big guy who doesn't defend well, but really tilts to the offensive side. Zane Parek is a smaller guy who's like Erik Karlsson when it comes to the offensive side of the game. Some people question his defense. So what I'm trying to tell you, Roddy, is that after you get through those first, the first pick, you're looking at a group of defensemen that are all over the map. Some small and offensive, some big and offensive, some big and stay home, some medium who are two-way. So that, do you look at those players as franchise-changing players? Not necessarily, but I do think there's a couple of top-pairing defensemen in that group.
Fun to watch and entering the home stretch. The best time of the year is coming up. Sammy, always good. Say hey to the family for me, man, and enjoy the hockey. Always watching down here, enjoying it.
Great to see you, Roddy, and I love it that you're hanging out with the Panthers, and who knows, maybe I'll get to see you in the next couple of weeks.
We'll be here. Look us up, Sammy. Sportsnet's and NHL Network Sam Cosentino checking in.